Well, welcome to HQ Extra, the second episode. Joining me tonight is Daniel Beckinsale from Blendline TV and Chris Buckley, former HQ state champion. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Thank you very much.
Very well.
That's the way.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Mate,
Finally.
yeah, busy program. Thanks for the stitch up at the start there. I showed you how you guys go around Bathurst and then how not to go around turn one at Bathurst there. Went a bit hot in there and straight in the gravel. I seem to do that a lot though, didn't I?
Missed the brake pedal, you reckon? Is that right?
Oh yeah, slightly missed the brake pedal there, but that's my excuse all the time.
That's a new one, mate.
Yeah, so busy program, guys. We got a lot to cover. We got to cover South Australia. We missed their first round. They had that in February. We got WA raced over the weekend. Queensland raced, and we're going to recap on a little bit on Victoria, and then we'll finish up with New South Wales.
Should be a good round. And a bit of a chat to the man to your left here.
Yeah,
There's a reason for having you on, on the show. We should probably tell everyone what that reason is.
Yeah, well, it was a big milestone for Chris. It was 150th start down at Wakefield Park, so that was pretty good.
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't actually aware of it until I got a call from Ricardo, who does our photography and all our stats for a lot of drivers, and he said to me, mate, you understand that you're coming up for your 150th start? And I went, wow, that's a lot of years, a lot of racing, but enjoyed every minute of it. Still enjoy every race I do, and that's why I'm still doing it. It's the most enjoyable sport and good camaraderie with all the blokes that I race with, and we all have a lot of fun and enjoy it immensely. It's great stuff. So, when you think about getting involved, don't hesitate. You'll never regret it. It's very good.
Mate, let's just have a little chat about you. How'd you get into HQs? Like, by the way, thanks Ricardo. Priceless images too. By the way, guys, he'll be out there at the track on the weekend taking some photos. Talk to him. He'll give you some good shots as well, mate. Getting back to how did you get involved in HQ racing?
Mate, about 14 years ago, I had a pretty serious motorcycle accident. I broke both my ankles doing pretty big jumps and silly stuff, young and silly. And I was in hospital for a while, and I was out of action in a wheelchair for 3 to 4 months. And my old man, at that time, he was a friend with another old HQ racer, Peter Green, and they used to be in a hot rod club together. And anyway, Peter talked him into buying a HQ race car. And just so happened that he got two. He got a 2 for 1 deal, and he got an extra one. And I've always been into motorsports, cars, bikes, anything with a motor. I like it. I'm a mechanic by trade, so it was just something we fell into. Anyway, started out. I think my first season was end of 2006. First race was at Oran Park, great track. Anyone who got the race there will all know what an awesome track that was. And first race, I actually finished 6th out of I can't remember how many cars, and it was a pretty good start to a very long career. And 150 race starts later, I'm still doing it, still loving it, and still enjoying it just as much.
Did you beat your father in the first race?
Absolutely.
I did. That's pretty good. Well, we all know the Greens brought a lot of people into the sport.
Absolutely.
Actually, I met Junior and got into the sport through him, and that's how I met you guys. And back in the day, there was a lot of father-son teams as well. Yeah. So but not as much today, but there is still,
Peter Green revived HQ racing in New South Wales, no doubt in the world. When we first started, there was, we struggled to get 10 cars on the grid, and by the time he left here after being president and bringing a lot of people in, there was always 20, 25 cars on the grid, and stayed that way ever since basically. And we're still getting very strong numbers, bigger than any other state. So he did a lot for HQ racing, and he's actually a life member, and still around every now and then.
So what would you say would be your highest or your best achievement, would you say?
Without a doubt, it would be 2012 New South Wales State Championship. After racing for many years and sort of mid to forward in the pack, and I actually got Pedro Marusic, who does a lot of race building, a lot of race engines. Me and Pedro got to know each other quite well, and he did me a good deal on a brand new motor, and we put it in the car, and it was just a rocket ship. It was a really quick car, and basically I think won nearly every race that year. And then obviously with the championship went along with that as well. So without a doubt, mate, it was a lot of effort, a lot of fun, and as you said, I do everything with my dad. He's been involved with it since day one as well, and to have that, to do that with your old man as well at the same time, it's just it's a good memory to have, and I'm sure someone will talk about for many years to come. We still talk about it, so it's very awesome.
Preparations to the car, is it still normal? Wait till the night before racing and then get into it?
People who know me know that's true, mate. I'm a shocker, mate. We're racing this weekend, obviously, and I haven't touched the car yet, but I'll do it tomorrow night. Probably get into it. And the
You got
car's,
time.
I've got time. Yeah,
Got
the
plenty
car's
of
good,
time,
mate.
plenty of time.
Check the brakes, make sure it's got oil in it. Nah, I do a preparation, but it is normally last minute sort of stuff. But that's just the way it is. I work 6 days a week, got family and that to look after as well. So as much as I love racing, it's not unfortunately the first priority all the time. But we'll be there. We'll have fun. Hopefully having a good weekend as well.
Fair enough. Daniel,
Yes. What?
just recapping
yes.
on.
Oh no!
Whoa,
We've
we've had a technical issue here.
Is that back
It's
up?
all right, we're back.
Oh, we're back.
That's
We're
right,
back. We're good.
We're good. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, actually, forget what I just said there because I completely forgot exactly
We
what I
forgot
was
to
going to
warn about the table.
say. Yeah. No.
That's all right.
Props. We need props. No. Anyway,
That's good.
mate. Not the first round you wanted at Wakefield Park, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
At the
We
Aston.
always have a good time, mate.
Yeah. We
Racing's good. The Astor Hotel's good. The nightlife's.
I'm hanging on to this for dear life.
That's all right. I got it.
Nah, mate, we didn't have the greatest
I'm
first
saving it.
round. I actually borrowed a car from Pedro Marusic. He's got a few in his stables there, and it just wasn't. It was lacking a little bit of straight line speed, which we're on top of hopefully. And this round we're hoping for a bit more performance. It's something we've been working on for a while, but we'll get there in the end, and there'll be we'll see what happens on the weekend. But I'm sure we'll go all right, mate.
Nice.
We've always had good fun.
Excellent.
Racing Creek.
Excellent. Well, mate.
Sorry, we've got table repairs going on.
That's okay. That's fine.
It's gonna happen.
Things happen. Things happen.
That's it.
So, Daniel, you've seen Chris race a fair bit.
Yeah,
now
we
that
followed it for a
Blendline
few
TV's
years now.
been
Yeah.
a few years, and so how do you think he's been? What have you noticed with Chris over the years?
What have I noticed with
Yeah, with
Chris over
racing.
the years? Jeez, look, I didn't know I was going to be the one put in the spot of his interviews here. I tell you what, like it's the biggest thing is the ambassadorism for the sport. You know, like the work that Chris puts in to be able to always talk about the sport. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, when we first started filming HQs, we ended up at the car yard buying a car off Chris without even realising we were at the car yard Chris was at. You know, so. And that car worked beautifully, still in the family today and still running around up in Mudgee. So, you know, there's honesty there as well. So there's never a question of integrity in that sort of
That was our Homebush City Motors.
Homebush City Motors, that's it.
Get the plug
I didn't want to know whether to put the plug in or not if you were still there or not. So I just wanted to make sure.
10 years later.
But, you know, and I think it's that. And I think it's also just like a lot of people, when the weekend gets tough, will throw in the towel and go home. Chris will stay all night and put a new clutch and motor and anything he needs to in it and be back out there Sunday morning. You're like, oh crap, like here's this guy going again, you know, and like they've put everything into it. And I think that's what HQ Racing's all about. It's about just not giving up and making sure you're there for every single race and keeping it clean and being part of the community. So
you can say that about most people in the category. And the good thing about HQs is that, as you all know, that everyone's always willing to lend a hand, chip in, help if they can, supply your parts, lend you this, whatever you need to get you on the track. And that's another reason, mate. Like I said, I've been doing it for so long. I love racing, but I also love the people that I race with. Yeah, they're all good mates.
There's nothing like being out the track and then Chris leaning over the car and his big bum crack hanging out, going for his life and trying to get the head gasket off. Mate, you virtually can get a head gasket done now in about 40 minutes? 42 minutes?
I think
that's on a hot engine, so it's even harder.
I think, to be honest, the only thing I wish we had more footage of in HQ Racing from our time with it is Chris going across the line first. Yeah, we sort of we missed that run. Like
TV came a year after because in 2012 it was a very good year for me, and then Blendline come along in 2013, and
I wouldn't like to say we jinxed it or anything.
Nah,
but we were
I
there.
would.
Throw us under the bus.
I'd say
under the bus from Wayne Healey. So that's great.
As soon as I joined you, everything started working properly. I think. Chris, is HQ's going in the right direction with you? Like you've been on part of the New South Wales committee for a while and stuff like that. So is QE's going in the right direction?
Mate, New South Wales especially, HQ Racing is thriving. It's we're still having numbers of at least 20 to 25 cars every round, which is nearly every state round. It's more than any other category. Maybe not for improved production. I think they're a bit higher, but we always have good rounds, good numbers. as I said, the club's in a good spot. We've got good people at the helm there looking after it. The bank account's good. The committee's good. We enjoy ourselves, and everyone seems to be getting looked after. We've got a couple of things in the pipeline this year. We've also got some prize money going out for different rounds, just individuals.
Now you tell me. I haven't got a car, and you tell me now it's prize money. So it always.
Go get a car.
You have a car. It's just not running, you know.
That's true.
A couple of days.
We saw footage of your car at the start of this.
Yeah, thanks.
That was your car.
That was my car. That was going in the dirt.
In the sand.
Again. Yeah. Again.
You have a bit of a attraction to sand.
Well, you
No,
know,
I just
he
ain't
likes
seen
holidays.
I
they
just
don't
ain't
say-
seen
he
the-
likes golf
I
clubs
just
with
don't
sand,
seem to.
and he likes
Just don't
HQs
seem to
with
hit the brake
sand.
properly. I missed my braking
I was
point.
actually watching
a
some
bit.
footage today because I knew I was coming here tonight of some earlier HQ extras. You were along with Peter Green Jr. were doing one, and there was a bit of sand action back then too.
I don't need to go to the beach. So I just drive a car and I'll find the sand.
Well, you're on holiday enough at the beach. So
Yeah, good on you.
That's what I like to be.
Holiday Healy, here we go.
Stitcher.
Dear, we're going to Europe
That's
tonight.
That's
Got
it.
you covered.
And Peter Green Jr.'s joined in now, so you know.
welcome,
You've
Pete.
got to mention he's on there already.
Yeah,
Yeah?
exactly.
Mate,
Dave Allen's
alright,
there as
Pete.
well.
I would say Pete Green would be junior, that is.
Yep.
Probably the most competitive man I've ever met. And everything he does in racing, he's virtually succeeded. He's in now in the horse racing game. He's doing the thoroughbreds, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for a share in a racehorse,
Do you need
look
to
up.
pump his tyres up anymore?
Yeah, mate, Peter Green Jr. Mate.
I'm going to tell you, mate. I don't think there's many people who race cars who don't like to win.
No, exactly right.
I think it's
Pete
Goes
Green.
with the territory.
Pete Green Jr. is infectious, mate. He's just that one of those guys. You love him. So he's a great bloke. He'll look
I love
after
him or
you.
hate him, but
Yeah,
both-
exactly,
we
yeah,
love
so-
him. He's a good guy.
All right, so
Let's have a look at South
let's
Australia. huh?
move on. Let's have a look at South Australia. We'll give they raced back in February, so they only had a 9 cars roll up. So we're going to double press.
If you double press.
So
There you go.
there we go.
That's New South Wales.
Yeah, that's the other side of. Okay, no, that's, yeah, technical difficulties again. Great start there. Oh, yeah. Would you expect anything else from Healy? There we go. Well, look, Malawa.
Double tap each.
So yeah, we had Malawa Racing. Race 1 was taken out by Brett Mums. How do you?
Mums, mate.
Mums,
That'd be
yeah,
Mums,
yeah,
Brett
Mums.
Yep.
Actually, that wouldn't be right because that's a Holden Tirana. So let's go. Darren Jenkins actually was the first, David Smith, and then Matthew Davidson.
Lee Smith, Corey Bradley, Alan Smith, and rounding out with Matthew Wright. So unfortunately, those numbers there was 10 starters, but only 7 of them were HQs. They've been put together with another group.
So we had a DNF from Matty Wright right at the end there. 6-lap race there in race 1 at South Australia. Unfortunately, we don't have that. As you see on the screen now, it is the Nationals. So we'll just we'll roll through that again.
Rotate,
Yeah, we'll just roll through
show
that
the
again
photos
so
a
we can
couple of
show.
times so that we can talk
And
about
Chris, you want to
HQ South Australia.
have a look at South Australia
Race
where's
two.
race 2? We got that there.
While we're on South Australia,
Minor accidents
they
here.
are holding the
Have you got?
they are holding the Nationals this year at the Bends, which will be a
That should be big, shouldn't it?
massive weekend of HQ racing. I think there's obviously a new track, and then no one would have raced it other than the South Australia guys. And I think it's going to have a lot of interest from all around the country. I could imagine there'll be a good solid 50-car group there at least. So that should be very interesting. Race 2, South Australia. Darren Jenkins again took that out. David Smith was second. Corey Bradley came in third. Matthew Davidson, Alan Smith, Lee Smith, Matthew Wright got the car back on there, and Brett Garrawal was coming in 11th position. Smaller grids, but I'm sure the boys are still having fun there.
Oh, you want me to read out race 3?
Yeah,
okay, race 3.
That's why I pay you. That's why I pay you the big bucks.
That's all Darren Jenkins take a victory.
There's a
It's a
three-peat,
three-
is it?
yeah, so it's a
Trifecta.
A clean
Dave
sweep.
Smith in second. Third went to Matthew Davison, Corey Bradley, Alan Smith, and Lee Smith rounding out the field. There's also an Adam Smith in an XW GT. So Smith's.
Yeah,
I don't think
they've
they're
obviously had
related.
the touring
Yes.
historic tourings involved in
Yeah.
that to make up the numbers.
Now,
So-
when we went to HQ South Australia Racing a few years ago at Malabar, it was a pretty interesting track to have a race around in the HQ. It's a bit hard stop down the back there. on the long back straight as you
Yeah.
come to the hairpin. We saw by the end of the weekend there was a few of them struggling to pull it up. So
You are not
pretty
wrong.
interesting place.
We had a lot of Victorians come across at that time to
Yep.
race at Mellower. Obviously, they haven't done that at the moment, but that's okay. South Australia is a great place to go and race. So jump on their website. You can jump on their website at any time on the not the
Facebook.
Their Facebook.
HQ Racing.
Yeah,
SA, I think
that's
it
it.
is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
HQ Racing South Australia. Jump on their Facebook page and they'll give you all the next race meetings and also the points of their championship. So
There you go. There's a tag in the comment section now.
fantastic, perfect. Mate,
And the
perfect.
national championships coming in September, which Chris already mentioned, but that's going to be very big. That's going to be very big. They're already planning towards that. I know the guys behind the scenes are already putting in a lot of hard work, which you have to do with the nationals, but I imagine it's somewhere like Tallumbed, it's an even bigger job because such a large venue and it's a long way for a lot of people to travel. But I think there'll be a fair few people going over this year, especially with a circuit like that. From an HQ.
What I like about Tallumbend, that having the nationals there too, it's an unknown track.
It is.
So it's like we, as New South Wales, tried to bring it to Wakefield because not many people had raced at Wakefield. So we tried to give the New South Wales boys a bit of an advantage by having it at Wakefield. It's what you do. But so
What are you
Tallumbend,
talking about?
Tallumbend's going to be it's going to be open to a lot of
Yeah,
people. Look,
yeah, exactly.
Brett Osborne's going to be up there defending his title again.
Heinrich's
You-
will be
you-
there
well,
shortly.
you're going to have a lot of people from Victoria that's going to go and race there before. You know.
I mean, I reckon there'll be a lot of people from all over the country.
Yeah.
They'll come from Perth, Queensland.
Massive weekend.
It's
Massive
a, it's, a,
weekend.
it's a new track, it's a big track, it's an exciting track, and I think it's going to be a very, very big national
And it's
sport.
the expression of interest is already out. You can fill out your page as well. So go on their website, also on their Facebook page, and you'll see all the information there. Follow the prompts, and you'll be right. So well, that's pretty much
Australia.
South Australia, good round.
Covered
When's
South
the next
Australia.
round? Later on. I should have probably checked that, shouldn't I? I can check
Actually,
that right
I
now.
did.
If I go and have a look at their
Yeah.
page, it's probably on there.
I do believe it's not that long ago.
Not that long to go,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. As
So-
opposed to a go.
Why?
You talk amongst yourselves, and
Yep.
I'll find when the next
Too
race
easy.
is on.
So.
I guess I'm really helped you out there, haven't I?
Young Andrew McLeod there, he's remembered coming to Wakefield. Yes, I remember that fondly too. I didn't have a good weekend that weekend, you know. Anyway,
We have footage of that.
moving
race.
on, why Daniel's going to get up the dates for the next
yeah,
round
on
of
the
South
right side
Australia. We'll move
now.
on to Western
Going on.
Australia. And Western Australia had their second and third round over the weekend at Barbagallo, I believe. No, sorry, at Collie Motorplex. So there you go. On the screen at the moment, you've got the WA entry list there. So that
Nice
was
solid field there
Yeah,
too.
that was
oh,
the
great
entry
solid
list.
field. So
Combined round this one, rounds 2 and 3, which
Yeah,
is
all
an
the same
interesting
weekend.
Yeah.
way of doing
Saturday
things.
was round 1 and Sunday was round 2 and Saturday was round 3. So.
yeah, so they had a qualifying for each day for the day, and as you can see in, there that Howlett took
Michael
out
Howlett took out the first race, followed in by Ryan Davis, and third place was Michael Woodbridge. So those boys at the front there. Mark
What-
Watkins, Wade Headley, Rory Sharp, Adam Butler, followed on by
Yeah, so we've got Darren Pete and then Christopher
Ainscow.
Angstro, yeah. Mark Alphonse, I like that name.
Alfonso.
Alfonsi.
It doesn't sound like
That
an
sounds
HQ
good.
driver, does it?
That sounds it's pretty
Sounds like- So on the screen, we know this isn't Collie Motorplex, but this was the footage we could find of round 1 earlier in the year, so that people can see a
That's,
bit of HQ racing at
Michael Howlett there,
the
HQ number 7.
Yep, repaved or resurfaced
Looks
Barbagallo.
nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Looks very good.
lap records were tumbling there at the first event. I think it was reset half a dozen times on day 1 and another half dozen on day 2 between multiple categories, not just in HQs. But good to see the HQ guys
Speaking
from
about
WA.
resurfaced tracks, we were first time on this weekend at for us guys on the resurfaced track there at the Eastern Creek. So interesting to see how that works out.
We'll chat about that a little bit
Work
later.
that,
So, race 2 on the Saturday, on the round 2 was Adam Butler, Wade Headley, and Mark Watkins was the top 3.
Adam Butler's come from a fair way back to win that race, hasn't he? He was in 7th spot in the first race. So,
and Wade Headley too. Wade Headley in the first race, he finished 5th to move up the 2nd spot. So obviously there was a DNF from Dennis Russell right at the end there. So you know the race 2, you know, it's changing all the time, which is good. Western Australia always provides some nice racing there. I'd say they'd be pretty happy with their numbers, although their numbers could be a little bit better. 15 cars is not bad.
I think
not
that's
too bad.
Pretty good for them guys, and I'm sure they've got exciting and close racing, as all HQs do. Race 3 saw Michael Howlett take out race 3, followed in by Wade Headley and Ryan Davis in third. Mark Watkins and Michael Woodbridge taking out the top 5 there. Then Rory Sharp, Adam Butler, Darren Peat, Christopher Ainscoe, Mark Alfonsi, Scott.
Geez, that's a good name, isn't it?
Scott Haynes, Steve West, Sean Cooper, Brad Butler, and Dennis Russell rounding out. So yeah, a good weekend of racing there by the looks of things.
Yeah. So the points. Sorry, mate. Just to interrupt. The points over that week, Saturday, they've got the points there. So Michael Howlett had the most points, finished with 64 championship points. Wade Headley 56, and Ryan Davis 53, equal for Adam Butler on 53 as well. Close behind Mark Watkins 52. So they're rounding out the top 5 there. It's not too bad for the Saturday.
Yeah,
so
good event. Just quickly going back to South Australia, I found on their site June 29 and 30th at Malwa, and at the same time, Darren Jenkins has mentioned. Talon Bend. The Bend. Darren Jenkins has mentioned 29th, 30th of June at the Bend as well. So that's probably a good opportunity for all those other state guys. Maybe we shouldn't tell the Victorians that's on in late June, because they'll get across there. They're close enough to probably have a run. So maybe not let them go. But Jardine Motorsport also saying that that's a track he'd like to have a run on at Barbagallo, I think, or maybe Talon Bend as well. Moving to Sunday at Collie Motorplex, the thing to not forget as well is Collie Motorplex, I think, also just had a partial resurfacing as part of a track extension there. So probably a little bit different for those guys. And Wade Headley got up Sunday morning, race 1, a whole new qualifying session before these races as well, so it was effectively 2 individual rounds.
2 rounds, yeah.
Mark Watkins, Ryan Davis, Michael Howlett, Rory Sharp, Adam Butler, Darren Peat, Michael Woodbridge, Steve West, Mark Alfonsi, Christopher Anskog, Brad Butler, Sean Cooper, Scott Haynes and Dennis Russell with DNF and DNSs respectively. 8-lap race. Would be pretty warm over there in late March by now, you'd have to think as well.
So.
Still late summer, but still
warm.
Pretty warm. So an 11 a.m. race.
There was a safety car start there.
Yeah.
You'll see Michael Howlett here. He's got a great start from a restart. He's put 100 metres on him after the first corner. So great driving from him there. As you said, there was a DNF that would have been the cause of the safety car, I would say. But it's a great start from Michael.
Geez, the track does look good done at the moment. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
We'll move on to race 2 now on the Sunday. So that's when you. That's race 3. I apologise.
Race 1. Where's race 2?
We're missing race 2. There it is. Stop looking. We found it.
No one could see us, so you could have covered it.
Oh yeah. No, it's all good. Actually, believe it or not, how's Wade Headley?
Yeah.
Now, just quick little story. When I in my junior day, when I was not a bad footballer, soccer that is, but I call it football. My nickname was Headley because I got in the paper, instead of spelling Healy, they put bloody Headley. So that was been my nickname ever since.
Maybe you should keep that name. He's got better results.
Well, that's true too. Oh yeah, I didn't think
you
of
can
that.
claim a few victories then,
Wade, Wayne,
close enough.
That's
Rolls
close
off the
enough.
tongue.
So race 2 saw Michael Woodbridge take that one out. Darren Peat in second and Rory Sharp was in third. Mark Watkins fourth and Michael Howlett in fifth. So maybe a few issues there for Michael because before he was controlling the front pretty well. Then we had Ryan Davis, your friend Wayne Headley, Adam Butler, Mark Alfonsi. That's a great name.
There's a lot. I love that.
Steve West, Christopher Ainscoe, Scott Haynes, Brad Butler, Sean Cooper, and Dennis Russell.
Well, it brings us to the last race on the Sunday, which is, you work it out. I know they're short races, but 6 laps and 8 laps some of the races, but 6 races plus 2 qualifying over a weekend. That's a lot of racing in it. So
HQ it is.
Yeah, and but Western Australia do a 10-round series, I believe. So, mate, a lot of racing over there. Well done, guys. So it brings us to the last race, which is Michael Howlett back on top again. Wade Headley, Ryan Davis, Mark Jenkins, Michael Woodbridge. Unfortunately, guys, we don't have all the footage that we can. I apologise for that. And then look, guys, jump on their website and their Facebook page again to get more information. To follow I believe we've got their next round. Oh, I did have the information of the next round. I've lost it. I've
Just
misplaced
watching this race.
I'm on fire.
Just watching this race on screen
Wayne
now.
Healey on fire.
Michael Howlett and Mark Watkins going at it toe to toe. Like they got this year or last year's state championship. Championship winner, and Michael Howlett in number 7 car. They are absolutely giving each other nothing.
Yeah, so
It's very good racing over there.
So the points for that round was Wade Headley on top, 64. Michael Woodbridge, 58. Mark Watkins, 55. Michael Howlett, 50. Rory Sharp on 50. That rounds out the top 5 for that day. So that rounds up the HQ's WA. Again, if you get on the HQ Facebook page or website, it'll give you all the information you need. The next race is...
It looks like 4th of April.
4th of April? Wow. Okay.
At Barbagallo.
Geez, they don't muck around over there, do they? Get
Here we go.
straight into it.
Round 4, 13th of April at Barbagallo.
There we go.
Round 4.
Couple of weeks.
That's a couple of weeks away, and then they're off to Collie Motorplex for a double round on the 18th and 19th of May. So very short turnarounds. Should be good. Hopefully some good racing.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's
HQRacingWA.com for the website.
Now moving on, let's go to Queensland. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information, but what we can tell you, or any video, as
unfortunately,
well,
there was no
yeah,
photos.
I've looked up their website. It hasn't been updated since last year. I've jumped on their Facebook page. There's not much happening there either.
Come on, Queensland, lift your game.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All I can tell you is Brandon Madden had a clean sweep
He did.
over the weekend. Yeah.
Pole and 3, I think.
Yeah. So he had
Good
a
effort considering
great
that the track
weekend,
was flooded on Saturday afternoon from photos I saw on Facebook with pretty heavy rains going through the area. So that would have made HQ racing pretty interesting. Great track, Morgan Park as well. Big climb up under the bridge.
Actually, you like it when it rains, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I. I just think the reason why I do because
I don't find it fun at all.
oh well, that's hard for you.
Standing behind a
I
camera
just seem to think it brings the faster cars down a peg a little bit because again it still comes down to who's got the best handling car and who can drive it the best. So yeah, but
the rain is a very good equaliser, mate. It makes it very even for everybody. It's good fun. I like it. Just quickly, there's a little note here from Andrew McLeod. Brings back memories from Wakefield Park. My first run a number of years ago, I spent Friday night out with Bucko and Junior. I think the night out was more memorable than the race meeting. I don't remember the race meeting, but that was his fault.
oh, so hang on, we're going to play the blame game.
Andrew.
So Andrew's fault. Andrew's going to blame you.
100%.
Well, you know the one that you can blame Junior because
Didn't he
He's
still
not
get
here.
didn't he still get a podium that weekend?
yes, he did. McLeod.
McLeod.
No, he might have got in the last race.
I think he did. Well, there we go. Just grab that.
Peter Green Jr.
HQ races, of course. That's it. But anyway, you got some points from Queensland to be able to go
Yeah,
through.
because he came down with Kevin Stoopman that weekend and raced. And
That's right. He
And
did
Rod
too.
Rogers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rogers.
No, I think it was only them
just
two.
McLeod.
Yeah.
Stoopman.
So yeah, Bradley Schomburg, I think it's pronounced, and Nathan Locke. Bradley was on 11 points. Nathan Locke on 78. Scott Andreski 64. Warren Parker on 60, and Darren Raisley on 56. Risley. Michael McLeod 52, and Mark Strackham on 38 points. Joseph Andreski, I don't know what's going on there, but he had a fourth and a third, a DNF. But there's no points showing up on that one, so I'm not sure if he's part of the club or he's just racing or what the situation is there. So,
Interesting.
quick roundup of Queensland.
North of the border.
Yeah. So,
Good race.
moving on to our Mexicans,
Next round.
the Victorians. I believe that's the Dallas Crane Challenge next round, and I think it's going to be.
Phillip Island, right?
Phillip Island,
4th
yeah.
and 5th of May.
Yep, 4th and
Is
5th of May. 3rd and 5th of May, yeah,
Third
you're right.
and fifth,
I believe that there was a lot of cars that weren't there. So your Rod Rogers wasn't there, Becker's wasn't there. So there's Muggleton wasn't there. So Patterson, a lot of these guys will come back and strengthen Victoria right up in that round. So it looks like it's going to be a really good round.
I was going to say those guys as well. Phillip Island always produces some great racing in the HQs. It's a great place to draft down that front straight.
Yeah.
Up the back, you can sort of tuck in behind somebody and try to get a run. So there's always plenty going on, and then the weather moves in as well, and you generally do get a bit of rain and sometimes a bit of sleet as well, just to throw in some ice for good measure. So it'll be interesting. The Dallas Crane Memorial Week, or Crane Challenge weekend, a significant weekend for HQ racing in Victoria and around the nation, with Dallas Crane playing such a huge role in how the category grew over many years. So,
Absolutely. So I think there'll be a lot of cars, and there'll be a lot of disappointed people that can't get there because they know how big that round is. Also, Victoria's going to jump on a couple of Victorian heroic racing register rounds for their championship. So they're jumping on that. So historic
racing.
We know what you mean.
Give myself an uppercut.
You'll get there in the end.
There we go. There's McLeod there and a few boys.
Very good.
So, but yeah, looking forward to that. Their calendar is 2nd of August is Winton as well. So they've got a bit of a. Is that a bit of a gap there?
It's a massive gap from
It's a
May
massive
to August,
gap.
isn't it? May,
But
June,
like I
July.
said, they might be jumping in those historic.
Well, there was a question
Racing
earlier on
registered.
from Steve Banks saying how many of the New South Wales boys are coming to the Winton Festival of Speed. So maybe they are actually going to race August 2nd to 4th for the Festival of Speed at Winton. But there's also one in May, I think, of a festival in Speed at Winton. So we'll have to get clarification of which one.
One 3rd to 5th of May, and then it's a 3-month gap till Winton. So it is a big break.
That'll be interesting as well, because 2 weeks after Nationals at
Is it really?
Well, then
Australia.
2 weeks after the back at Phillip
back
Island.
at Phillip Island, so that's a bit of a trek and a turnaround of 2 pretty high horsepower tracks to probably try to make a run. But HQ Victoria's been having a pretty decent run of it the last couple of years. There's some very, very fast cars down there, so
There is.
it's good to see that those guys, and they're doing a lot of work now to try to bring in some young people into the category, I guess you could say, and newcomers as well. So a few of those guys have had some good runs that we've seen here on Blendline, and hopefully we'll see more racing from them in the not too distant future. But great racing down there, always a good club.
Yep. And that's going to be sponsored by Muggleton Electrical, I believe. So they've got some good sponsorship down there. Fern Gully Motor Group, Tyre Power as also, and so yeah, look forward to watching and seeing more of the Victorian racing, because it's they are one of the best in the business. So, and by the way, guys, if you want HQ Xtra to come down, let me know, and we'll sort something out there.
Get in touch with Hollywood Wayne Healey.
Hollywood Healey, see if I can fit you in between holidays. Slide.
They've just put a caravan park in a Talon Bend, so
Please.
maybe
Please.
I hear it's the Riviera of South Australia, so you could make it work. It's not quite Europe, but it's there, thereabouts.
So, guys, if there's any information you want to also Victorian Racing, again, Facebook page, their website, you can get onto Jardine Motorsports, even promotes it as well. So there's a lot of things that you can find about HQ Racing in Victoria. Like I said, they're our Mexican, our biggest rivals
Mexican
down
mates, they're good guys.
Mexican mates, they're great blokes to come up with, and their next round will be fantastic.
It's a very healthy rivalry between us, and I think they feel the same about us. We're all HQ racers, all have the same thing in common, and we all seem to have a good time and enjoy our racing as well.
It's good stuff. New South Wales.
So we
I'm
move
just gonna
on.
Move to that. Since round 2 is this weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park. Where's been repaved at Sydney Motorsport Park?
Turn 1, I was at the Cams panel meeting the other night, and guys, Matt Kavanagh from he's in
Production cars. Yeah.
was telling me that they've redone turn 1, and
Okay.
he's telling me about a bump in it. So it'd be interesting
right.
to see.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know. I haven't
He'd
been
know he was there for the production cars at the
He
start
was.
of the
That's
year,
that's
so
what. Yeah, he said.
yeah, he'd be
I haven't
aware
been
of
there this year, and
Yep.
they have done some work there apparently. So.
I know they they tried to flatten it out a couple of years ago.
Mm.
and make
There's
it
always a
smooth
bump
for you
there.
guys. Yeah.
Apparently
It was
there's another bump.
another
there.
bump. There you go. Just move the bump
That's
slightly
all.
around the corner.
That's all I need. Bumps.
I think Wayne Healey's had a bump there
Oh.
at turn 1, hasn't he?
Actually-
we'll have to dig that footage out somewhere. There's a bump by Wayne
Have
Healey.
you got me-
That's why Wayne Healey doesn't have a car to race.
Have you actually got me going across a finishing line at least?
Maybe.
I think Bathurst.
Got you one pushing
Bathurst,
one.
yes.
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
we ran third there.
You did.
I tell you, I ran third
Yeah,
there.
he did tell me.
With me co-driver Stewie Spry, who put it in the wall, not me.
I was talking to
Just
Stewie.
point that one out.
Stewie yesterday, actually.
Yeah, we ran third in the co-drivers event, at Bathurst a little while ago. Speaking of Bathurst, young Shane Cox went out there and had a hill climb, I believe, over the weekend and ran his car around there. Unfortunately, I think it broke down and he didn't get much of a thing there. But if you
Shane's had a rough entry to HQ racing. Unfortunately, he bought a car that was sitting around for a long time, and the first round at Wakefield Park, he had no end of problems. But he hasn't given up. He's in there. He's getting it sorted out, and he's getting a bit of help as well. So actually, good to see. I'm sure he'll be there on the weekend.
There's a good point. What is your HQ story? Let us know your first HQ story, where you bought a.
Jeez, there's going to be some
piece of
stories. Do
shit.
you want the first HQ story or racing story?
Yeah, like
because it's the first HQ story.
But everyone has a
Might not
HQ
be
story.
one from
Like for instance, like Chris with his dad, with Peter, and I met Peter through soccer and then joined and said I went and watched him race and said I could do that. Went and bought a car, took it to the track, and the thing was a.
Could you do that?
Oh yeah, I did. And I just thought this is how easy this was, and found out that no, you're actually not that easy. So worked out. So please give us your HQ story. They'd be love to hear it.
I have this theory that everyone who comes to HQ racing thinks this is going to be easy. I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to win every race.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, it's not easy.
No.
They're not an easy car to drive, or to drive fast anyway. So it's a bit of an art form, I think. And until you're driven one, you'll never know. But you really should try and get in there. I actually. Last year, got my brother-in-law in there for the first time. He's a Sparky actually, and he come down and he said, "Oh, I'll be right, I'll have a go." I think it was about 10 seconds off the pace and spun it in the fishhook 4 times and couldn't get the smile off his face. He loved it. It's not as easy as it looks.
I was going to say, I think one of the easiest ways that I've seen for people to get into the HQ racing is to get involved with one of the endurance rounds that happens. I know New South Wales is trying to bring back an endurance aspect as well, but being able to go and do that where you can split the drive, you don't have to go out and buy a car, you can work with somebody for the weekend, and a lot of the guys are really open to somebody coming and sharing the vehicle, which is really cool.
Just come, I just say to everyone, just come and hang around and get to know the guys. Everyone's welcoming, there's no,
I was going to say, the guy running 5th in the series at the moment started off doing that, didn't he? Dave Allen?
Yes,
absolutely.
He was right there.
He was always there helping everyone else out, and he's been there and had a go. And
it's like I said, it's pretty much what I did. I went and watched Pete race, and then I watched. All of a sudden, there was Pete, Clinton, Troy, and Pete Senior. There's 4 of them in the race. The next minute, his brother-in-law, there was Pascal, then John, and then yourself, and that, and then Dad and I were racing. And my daughter now wants to race, and she doesn't even know how to drive a bloody manual. Ah, yes. But look, you know what?
HQ memories.
No, but we got Tennille Hogan, you know, and we've got Jessica Hepburn.
Yep. And we have another girl joining us this week.
Which is
lady, which is McClay's daughter.
Yeah. So you know, we're going to have some young ladies joining. It's great. We look. HQs aren't going to be around forever. They're getting old, and we got to nurture this the right way. So I think we're doing the right thing. But let's go back to the hot news. I think straight off the press with Leighton Cranbrook. Coming.
I'm surprised you didn't know.
No, I didn't.
Cranbrook. Leighton Cranbrook?
Yep.
I think 2010, maybe 2010, 2011 champion?
National champion, state champion, one of the youngest V8 supercar, V8 super drivers to jump in a V8 when he was younger, winning the Ute Series. He won that on the last round at Oran Park in that Ute Series, so we all went out and watched that. So.
Yeah, mate, he's in the process of getting a car back together, and all reports are that he will be racing this year, at least probably towards the end of the year, and having a crack next year at the championship again. So
that's fantastic.
I just noticed actually he's been put in B grade. I'm sure that'll change. But,
I don't think he'll be in B grade, mate.
No.
I know he's had a bit of a layoff.
I don't think former champions are allowed to be B graders.
Hell no. Anyway, let's have a quick recap of what we think is going to happen over the weekend. Who are we going to look out for? We got the obvious, right? We definitely know Brett Osborne's going to be up there.
Anybody.
And Chris Small are going to fight it out.
And I think they're going to have a bit of a ding-dong battle again this weekend. I'm not sure what sort of ammunition Brett's going to come with, but Chris Mole seemed to have his measure in that last race there last round, which was good for Chris. And Brett's likes to win like everyone, and I'm sure he won't be sitting on his hands doing nothing about it. He'll be working on that car to try and improve and get back up there and where he normally is. The other one you've got to watch out for is the quiet achiever here. We've got Dave Proglio. No one noticed.
Absolutely.
He's just very
He slipped under the radar in round one, didn't he?
Yeah,
Just
he really. Late last year, he was coming on really strong and going really well.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's just Mr. Consistent. He doesn't get in any trouble. He stays there.
Show too.
All it needs is one of these front guys to have a DNF, and he'll be up there with it, looking at giving the championship a shake as well. So, and a really good bloke, Dave, too. So it'd be good to see how he goes this weekend.
A little bit of footage from round one just playing on the screen now. So I think this is mostly race one.
Start there.
Yeah, so you can see.
I tell you who goes really well at Eastern Creek, Dwayne Cambridge.
He does.
I don't know why. He just seems to like that track a lot.
Yeah.
Just seems to go really well.
If it's wet,
look
out.
Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
There's at least 10 of them though who go well at Sydney. If the time is right, and you know you can have.
I can tell you, there's at least 10 in that list.
Yeah, exactly.
They could win the race.
I mean, you got to watch the Glendearing with his run down to turn 2. He uses an alternate line to everybody else. It's green. But he still pulls it up during grass cutting. Gets out in action, especially at Sydney.
Now that is one guy that's off the track more than I am.
Oh, that's a big statement.
He still runs in the top 5 more than you do as well.
He takes more holidays than me, and he's in the dirt more than me, but he does finish higher than me too.
I think the one to watch bouncing back as well will probably be Jason Mole, as we detailed in HQ Xtra episode 1, and the coverage from round 1 on Blendline. A little bit of a coming together between him and Cambridge up the hill, which caused a little bit of drama between the pair of them. I think watching.
Have you seen the footage?
I was going to say I've seen the footage a fair few times. I think the external camera angle tells a different story to what everybody thought on the day, which has helped clear things up a bit, thankfully. But you know, both those guys will get back out there and be
100%.
right at the front, pushing hard. So should be good. And I think you got to watch out as well. Like you know, you look all the way down, even yourself, Chris. Like Sydney Motorsport Park has been a happy hunting ground for you previously. So
things go
are
well.
we back in a car, or are you still in?
No, my own car.
Back in your own car?
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I think it should be okay. And
So preparations won't start till Thursday.
what's today?
another 36
Tuesday?
hours.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So, oh, okay. We're going to start a day early. Oh, there we go.
Just to be
We have to
Unfortunately, Ian McLean's gone for the season. I'd say. Unfortunately, he had
bit of drama.
bit of drama over in race one, but that's
Yeah.
out and out
Yes.
racer. And I tell you one we haven't mentioned either. Darren Parker didn't have the best of weekends.
Terrible weekend there.
He'd be up there, and also Luke Harrison.
He's got a nice new car there, which seems to be.
Yeah. So
should
look,
be
this
okay. Not so tight there at Eastern Creek, so you might be able to
and another
stretch
one
that thing
really,
out a little bit.
really haven't said anyone. Jason Mole. Yeah, I reckon
Mate,
I reckon he'll be right up there as well on Sunday at the end of the day.
mate,
Looking.
there's a good
trying
chance
to
you'll
get a
have
trophy.
a very interesting race meeting with Osborne, the two Mole brothers, Deering, Dwayne Cambridge, and also Scott Walker there as well, and Luke Harrison. You could have anywhere up to 6 or 7 right at the front, battling it out for a win. So if you're not doing anything on the weekend, come out and watch HQ Racing at Eastern Creek. It'll be great. It'll be a great weekend. So.
Yeah. Mate, well, let's have a look at the point score. So Brett Osborne is on 146, Chris Mull 142, and Dave Proglio 132, equal with Glenn Deering.
Like I said, mate, Dave Proglio, quite achiever. He's he's always there. He finishes every race. He might not be the fastest, but he's very consistent. And like I said, a couple of problems for a few of those front guys, and anything could happen for Dave this year. It could be an exciting time for him.
He's strengthening you now.
Hey, Pete.
Junior, I'll ring you back.
I tell you what, all he needs to do is find some time and he can be back on the show.
There's a picture
I'm
of
not trying to leave him
Mate,
out.
let me tell you, it would be great to have him to talk about, because there's not much he doesn't know about
He won't
racing.
hold back either, which is good.
Absolutely. And then,
yeah.
on the track, he was an out-and-out racer, and
I think- Sorry,
he just, he was an out-and-out racer, and he didn't like you, and off the track, he pretty much didn't like you anyway. No, he was pretty good.
I think a big thing to point out, and these photos really show it, is how the standard of presentation
just thinking the
has
same thing,
gone
Daniel.
up in New South Wales.
Massively. You look at some of these, you
Just-
think, oh yeah.
Like 5 years ago when we started
And then you look at that.
with HQs, like there was good presentation, but there was a fair few that were looking a bit run down, and they weren't replacing the stickers that often and things like that. Whereas it seems like now everyone comes out, new colour schemes get launched, new ideas, people change it up.
Which not only creates a better image for HQ, it also means that you know, back when I started 12, 13 years ago, it was rock and roll HQs. It was, and because at that time,
it was pretty much slap them up, get them on there.
Because at that time, parts were available very cheaply. You could buy a whole car for a couple $100, and now you can't buy a nose cone for a couple $100. But that's the reason. And the car's looking good. People are taking pride in what they've got out there, and they don't want to smash them up. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Everyone likes a bit of rubbing every now and then, but there's no. Yeah, we try and avoid it as much as possible.
Yeah, I do believe too, though, also that the other states picked up their act, so we had to follow suit.
100%.
Because when we had I think we had a Shannon's meeting at Eastern Creek one day, and they turned up and they made our cars look absolutely poor.
Absolutely.
And that was Peter Green Senior turned around and said, "This is not good enough." When he was president, he said, "We need to lift our game," and pretty much that's what everyone's done ever since.
Well,
and then you got, like I said,
himself. Peter Green Senior bought a car out and brand new, and it was beautiful. And people just said, "Oh, there it is, right there on screen."
There you go.
And it was a perfect brand new car, and it looked really good. And people just thought, you know what, we lifted our game, and the racing got cleaner, the cars look better, and it's just been gone from strength to strength, and we have great numbers, which is really good, you know. Need to continue it on that way. Talking about first HQ stories, Jardine Motorsport.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Did you see that? Entered this competition run with Ian. Sorry, my first HQ story entered a competition run by Ian Luft with a fully sponsored HQ race car sometime back around 1993. Neville Healey and I were the Victorian finalists and raced off with a bunch of others at Oran Park. Great memories.
Wow, see? And that's the thing. That's what.
Oran Park would have been a cool place to race.
It was awesome. 5 minutes from my home and they shut it down. What were you thinking? Anyway, I had my
land.
I had my
that's what they were thinking.
Yeah, now it's all houses and it is what it is. So what do you do?
Used to fly when that. I used to fly off the humps there, didn't you? That photo. I'll never forget that photo.
Here we go again. Yes, another photo of me
in
flying
the
through the
again.
Flying in the grass.
It was another Shannon's round, and this perfect spectator happened to catch me going. Well, what it was just before the flip flop. I come around the corner, hit the grate, and went flying. And I'm thinking, well, I was on the grass, and I thought, oh, I'm going all right. I'll keep it straight. And I'll just ease it back onto the black stuff. And there was this big drain, big grate, and down I went and up I went. And
For
this.
those of you who haven't seen the photo,
I'll post it.
Be on HQ Xtra later tonight.
I will. I'll find the photos and I'll post them up.
Great memories.
Wow. And
Great memories.
slid off the track, and there I finished on the grass.
So let's go back, since the focus of this episode was Chris's history in HQ racing, not Hollywood Healy's history in HQs.
Listen.
Chris, I guess.
Well, first of all, this is my show. Second of all, he's my guest. I made him feel good.
You can do
now it's all about me.
I'll let you go. What I was going to say, though, to bring some normality back to the conversation a little bit, is for a lot of people outside New South Wales and a lot of fans of HQ racing, they might not know your story about getting involved with HQ. So what got you into the category and then developing onto that to make you stay for such a long period?
Like I said, I'm a mechanic by trade. I've always had a fascination, I suppose, with cars or anything with a motor, motorbikes, cars, go-karts. I raced go-karts as a kid. I was lucky enough to have that opportunity.
Stop fiddling.
Sorry. I raced for a few years, go-karts as a junior and junior national class as a kid. And then when I was about 14, my dad opened up an indoor go-kart track in Smithfield in Sydney here. So I spent countless days, hours, months,
that
weeks,
would have been
years.
a dream, right, as a kid?
Basically not learning how to drive, but I was pretty good at it and getting plenty of track time back then at a young age. And it was, and then didn't do a lot of it. I did my apprenticeship as a mechanic, then mucked around as a young man, as you do for a while. Then, as I said, I had a pretty bad bike accident, broke both my legs, and coming out of that, my dad bought these two cars, and I thought, I think he felt sorry for me. He said, you can't ride the bike much anymore, come and have a go at this. And that was 2006, 150 race starts later, I'm still doing it, and I think it's not me. I think there's only one other person who's got that many, and that's Glenn Miller.
Okay.
I'm chasing him down to have the all-time most race starts, and there's people chasing me as well.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. There's a lot of guys racing. What out of the circuits you've raced on, what's been the best memory for you in HQs?
Everyone's always going to say Bathurst. I love Bathurst. It's a great place to race. It's the history and the. I'll tell you a story about the first time I ever raced at Bathurst was 2009. car on the back of the car on the trailer, driving into Bathurst, and the road straight in. You can see the mountain, you can see the writing on the wall. I was just looking at it and going, shit, I'm going to race at Bathurst. And I think a lot of people in motorsport, everyone who loves motorsport, I think the pinnacle in Australia is to go to race at Mount Panorama, and that was without a doubt probably one of the highlights. My favourite track, I think, I've got two. I love Wakefield Park, always have, always done pretty well there. But Oran Park was a really awesome track to race at as well. It was never got to win a race there, unfortunately, but it was a great place to race, and a lot of good memories from that track. And well, I've got a son who turned 13 yesterday, and on Sunday, and I have
Happy birthday, Blake.
Happy birthday, Blake. And I have pictures of him as 3 months old, sitting on the bottom of my car with his dummy, and it's been a part of my family. My family's always been there to support me along the way, and the great supporters. My dad's always been there to help me. He's always at every race meeting. My Uncle Trevor, he's there as well, and they've got good people around me who help me out a lot. And
it's funny that, like I said, your Uncle Trev, his son and I played soccer against each other for many years.
Yeah, small world.
Small worlds go
It is
on.
that.
What's been the biggest change in HQ racing over the last few years? What's sparked?
As I touched on before, mate, when I first started,
That's a pretty serious, smart question, for this show.
I'll try my best
That's
to
the
answer it.
I'll try my best line angle.
I'll try my best to answer it. As I touched on before, when I first started back in 2006, it was rough. It was ding dong battle out, and it was full on. And as I said, the cars, the presentation of the cars has got a lot better. People have had more respect for it, and it costs a shitload to fix now. So it's not easy to get parts, and it's not. We're all HQ racers. We all fix our own cars. We don't pay people to do it.
Yeah.
Just a quick one then. What would you like to see changed or added, if anything?
Well, this will spark a discussion online. Let's go. Let's see what rule changes we need to make here.
But we are at the point
No,
where
debate's a good thing.
we are at the point
Debate's
where
good.
the cars
We
are
need
getting to the age where
Yep.
we need to add things because they're not available as ready
Yep.
available.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing, and I've groped about it for a little while, and I believe we should have comms. I think we should have communication to our
Well,
just because.
to be honest with you,
and
touching on that point,
yeah.
is I think you and I both saw that very evidently at Wakefield Park
Yes.
when the safety car picked up the wrong car.
And that was
The
last
comms
round.
weren't able to be spoken to the drivers,
comms
and you had
wouldn't help
fast cars
No.
coming
The comms
around.
wouldn't help that, because that wasn't the problem for the drivers. That was a problem with the officials.
No, but
Yeah, but when the cars got released from behind
I was
the safety car,
behind the safety car. I got released, and we went for it. There were some
Yeah.
some new guys who didn't know what
Yeah.
to do, who struggled, and that they'll learn. They'll learn from that mistake.
It's
and
not
they'll
so
learn.
much on the safety car, but it's just the point that, like for instance, on an accident that's happened. Let's say, for instance, Eastern Creek turn 1. Right? People can see up the top or on the screen and see what's going on. And they can say, "Hey, listen, take it easy. Accident turn 1." You're in a car and you're driving and you're waiting to see a flag. Now, remember, this happened before. Where Glenn Cameron, I think it was Glenn Cameron, come onto the straight. Scotty Cameron, come onto the straight. He's got a green flag. There's the safety car sitting straight in the middle of the straight, stationary.
that might not have been held by radio though, because
No, but
It wouldn't have been.
timing.
And I disagree with you. I think I don't agree. I don't agree.
oh,
with
there you go.
comms.
See, that's perfect.
That's why you asked my question, but
Yeah,
I
that's
think we've survived for a long time without them.
Yep.
I just don't see the need for it. It's just another
Yeah.
additional.
A couple of
And it's-
comments
and
on
it-
this one because it has sparked discussion. Natalie
Yep.
Dawn Lynch has said more divisions to allow people to compete and have a chance at a win.
Well, Natalie, I can tell you, your husband has been delegated to B grades. He's got a very good chance of doing it.
Well, actually, if you, Natalie, if you're listening, Peter is sitting in 3rd spot in the B grade division.
Yes, so he has a very good chance.
Yep. And guess where he got that car from?
I wonder.
Yours truly.
You couldn't do that.
He kept it on the black stuff.
Yeah.
Those cars know how to stay on the black
I
stuff.
don't know, must be just me. Must be just
also,
me.
Paul Jenner points out how's the HQ race at Eastern Creek as a support for the V8s in '96 under lights
Under
on the short
lights.
track.
Yeah, well,
Well, there might be
funny
a
you say
chance of
that.
that coming back.
yeah.
I would love to see that.
I was actually
do we
at
have?
that race because
Yep.
when I was an apprentice mechanic at the time, and my boss used to race HQs just as it turns out, and I was there watching him and helping him crew. So
Well, look,
very nice, very good under lights, awesome.
mate. Okay. Here's a next question. Can you see HQs getting back on any major event?
What do you define as major?
Well, we used to get at Bathurst either the 6 hour or the 12 hour.
They do, not in New
We're
South
not
Wales,
getting back at the moment.
But in Darwin, they get on the V8s.
Yep.
So they are big.
Are they still on at Simmons Plates down at Tassie?
Yes, they are. Yeah, last year they were as well. So there's still some big round. New South Wales, we struggle a bit to get the big events. We have got, as we were talking about before, an enduro coming up in July, I think it is, for a 1 hour enduro race there. We're hoping, fingers crossed, that maybe 2020 might see us back at Bathurst. Everything going well. There's also talk of another 5th Bathurst event going to be scheduled for 2020 as well, which I've been reading a bit about lately. So there's some rumours there. We hopefully might be able to do something with that. But that also goes for the whole New South Wales Championship. We're hoping to get the whole lot of them on there as well. So
Yeah, that'd be good.
it'd be good for everyone in the sport to get some recognition, and some TV time's always good, which is why we Glenline. We love Glenline so much. It gets us on the TV, and it's good for us and
And
for
that
our sponsors.
Brings us straight into our next
Really?
Blendline TV. How are we looking at?
Oh, jeez. Okay, I didn't know.
With the Blendline, do we? Sorry about that, mate.
How are we
Taking your
looking
phone.
at the blend line?
How are we looking at other states at the moment with Blendline TV? As many HQs have come on board at the moment.
No idea. No. New South Wales.
Okay.
We work with Victoria. We like the guys down in Victoria as well. We enjoy usually getting down for the 4 hour on the Dallas Crane. The big thing we've tried to push in New South Wales this year is cost-effective live streaming, because I think from my perspective that's the future for state level racing, where
100%.
perhaps big events combined with being able to do something where they have their own focus on a product that can go direct to people straight away. But that's all things that are in development. You know, you can't do that overnight and away you go. There's budgets that need to be involved, and that's just the way it is. But you know, we'll keep pushing what we can. And I mean, personally, we've loved being involved with New South Wales HQs for the past 5 years and keeping that growth continuing and continuing to showcase what we can. So you know, for us, we just love the racing.
Excellent.
It's part of it.
We have a good product. It's
Yeah, exactly.
We do, don't we?
We do.
Good
You talk to people anywhere, and they say, "Who's their favourite to watch?" And it's HQs.
Yeah.
They are a crowd favourite. Always have
That's
been.
it.
Always will be. I think. Yeah.
Well, if you look around Australia and look at all the states, we've got over at least 120 cars going around.
Yep.
Maybe a touch less, maybe a touch more.
Yep.
Not everyone getting to the track at a time. Speaking of
There's
HQs,
a lot of cars in
and-
garages, mate.
well, I was just about to say, speaking of cars in garages, there is one up for sale in Tassie. By the way, if you
We
want
don't
to-
have pictures because we couldn't get pictures good enough.
no, okay. There we go.
Unfortunately, sorry.
That's all right.
I saw where you're going with that one. And,
Yep.
The
So if
pictures
you look on,
Facebook just
on-
weren't quite
On
quality
Facebook,
enough to
I think
play.
it's more race cars for sale. There's a HQ there, and there's also, I believe there's a guy in South Australia that's selling cars who bought a lot of HQs, tried something, didn't work. Now I believe he's trying to sell them to recoup some of his money. So there is HQs out there for sale. So if you are interested in getting into HQ racing, then that's the way to go. Well, gentlemen.
yes, you definitely need an HQ to go HQ
Well,
racing.
definitely you do.
Funnily enough, that's how.
Like
they
I said,
work.
if you're interested, come out, watch, say good day, have a look
Yeah.
around. People
That's it.
are more than happy to talk to you, more than happy to help you out. And you can still find a cheap car every now and then. They come up, they pop up, and you can get involved with not too much money.
Yep.
As I said,
And HQ races as well. The thing that you can't forget is like a lot of people just think of it. It has its merits as a fun class to go racing and enjoy times with mates, but you've also got to look at. There's a fair few HQ races these days that are, starting to make the steps into bigger categories. You look at Joel Heinrich as the prime example, gone all the way up to Super 2 now
Super 2.
to be able to run around. So, that driving ability came from areas like HQ. He raced so many races around the nation against different people, getting all that experience. He's spent a lot of times with New South Wales competitors, the Victorian guys,
Yeah.
Queensland were giving him a lot of
Exactly.
help. So
Late-
you get all those.
Leighton
Mixes.
Granville done the same thing. That was a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Josh Jackson's moved on to the Formula Fords.
Yep.
Yep.
So look, we HQ.
And you can't forget a lot of them as well. Like I know there's a significant number of HQ racers who also then team up and go and race the 6-hour production car race, or get
Yes,
into a
that's-
12-hour drive,
Yep.
or do you know what I mean? Like, so it's not a closed-off world where you can't go anywhere
Yeah.
from HQ racing. I think is what
Yeah.
that's the big thing to take away. You can learn a lot of racecraft.
definitely agree with that.
So
Great fun, good times.
Well, that's
And
pretty
we'll be
much.
there on the weekend. So if you want to
Yes.
hang around, come down, say good day, have a look.
And if you can't get there, jump on Blendline TV. It'll be live streamed as well over the weekend for the HQ racing.
All three races.
All three
this
races
weekend.
over the weekend. So we got quali on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Then we got race 1 Saturday afternoon, race 2 Sunday morning, and trophy race 3 on Sunday afternoon. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Daniel Beckinsale from Blendline TV, thank you very much.
That is where I'm from. Thank you.
And Chris Buckley, thank you very much for
The
making the
man.
effort to come in.
Thanks for having me, mate. Been great fun.
It was great
Have
fun.
to come back again.
Definitely. Anytime, except for not all the time. Tuesday nights.
So we haven't got this scheduled in all the time, but we're going to do our best I can to make it as often as we can. So at least once a month at this stage, and if not once a fortnight to hopefully once a week.
I think
So
we'll be back next Tuesday. Is that correct? To
definitely next
review-
Tuesday to review the New South Wales round
Around,
and whatever else has happened around Australia. So again, guys, if your state wants a HQ Extra, myself or Daniel,
that's it.
to come out and do some coverage, please let us know, and we'll put a package together for you and do so. You can contact me on Facebook, Wayne Healey.